Greetings, my viewers. My name is Krassel, and today we'll do a bit of map archaeology. As you can see, this is an old school Half-Life 2 deathmatch map. This is an early version of the map, and, in my honest opinion, the superior one. I will point out the differences later, and you be the judge in that matter. Talking about old school, the file on my hard drive is dated 4 January 2006, but it obviously was made even earlier than that date. Take note of these boxes. They're easily destroyed with a crossbow, however they're impervious to lesser damaging weapons, and they're very, very heavy. So heavy in fact that you cannot even pick them up, only punt them, as their mass is scaled to be 20 times their original one. Our trusty crowbar is of no help, as it may be evident. These boxes will be only damaged by 50 points of damage or more. Coupled with their tiny respawn delay of 15 seconds, these changes make the boxes into an interesting obstacle. Traversing the pipes is also possible, although getting up is tricky to say the least. This is the main maze area. A combination of glass walls and ceiling opens up many sightlines without exposing players to an immediate danger. This area is central to the map, the crossroads of sorts where all other areas inevitably lead. Let's get up and see how it looks from above. The skybox environment is pretty basic on this map, but it works. No fancy effects or tricks, just a pleasant industrial backdrop. The map itself begs to differ though. As you might have guessed by the seams in the glass and those peculiar patches in the floor, something is up with those areas. That something is tied to the control room overlooking the area. We'll investigate it later. As for now, that tower. Let's take a closer look at it. The entrance to that tower lies in the maze, and we'll have to meander just for a bit before we get there. The tower itself is a vantage point, giving you a decent sniping position, but barely any cover. The map is nice enough to provide you with a magnum once you climb all the way up there. Now that we're at the top, mind the crates, we can press a certain button, which will remove the bulletproof glass cover, exposing the control room to all sorts of incoming fire. Now for these crates. The ladder conveniently drops us right on top of them. The tower itself has windows for people to shoot and break them, dropping the person above into a pool of leech-infested water below. A fitting demise for a camper. Let's check out this way. Some rather abstract detailing, and we find ourselves where we started. Let's go back. Having that part of the map explored, we can now take a look at this cave. Hey, a switch. Don't be put off by the sign. All the switch does is print maps credit stats. I'll stand against the dark wall so it's easier to read. A nightmare, as the map maker puts it. I admit, this map indeed has fever dream written all over it. A patchwork of familiar and nonsensical, morbid and comfy, all welded together without a care. This is the column room. Column itself is a physical object, and it hides access to the control room. Between frantically moving floor and unyielding rotation of the column, it can be pretty hard to slip in. Every second you spend touching the column, you're at the mercy of jank gods of the source engine. Lightest touch can bring sudden death, or you can get stuck like that. Thankfully, the ladder rotation is purely visual. Still looks trippy though. This is the control room. It introduces a new mechanic. You can use texture-coded buttons to drop unsuspecting players to their doom. If you manage to bag a player, you get 5 points. Every button has a 5-second cooldown, not very long, but when other players figure the trapdoor is out, it becomes hard to catch them off guard. This cubbyhole is interesting. It hides 2 medkits and a slam, but the heavy crate is in the way. Only way through is either to punt it and get lucky, or simply shoot it with a high-power weapon. Let's try to exit this room without janky physics incidents. I have learned that it's best to wait for the column to do 180 rather than just rushing the next door. Otherwise, you're gonna get squished pretty much every single time you try. We're welcomed by a hefty catch. 3 SMG nades laid out on the rug, ripe for picking. This room also hides map's second magnum, and some supplies in this here hiding hole. Climbing back out is simple if you don't deliberately try to get stuck. Nothing special in this corner, just a ladder up. I'll follow the stairs down instead, only to end up at the column room. I'm not riding that thing again. Talking about unpleasant rides, this is supposed to be a moving elevator of sorts that carries you over the toxic water. However, it's bugged in this version, rendering it invisible. Plus, any attempts to stand in it will send you flying. You can pull up these items to stay alive a bit longer, but generally it's a mad dash down this corridor and a jump from an invisible platform to safety. What a weird bug. Actually, that metal room houses map's supercharger. These function identically to Citadel chargers from the end of Half-Life 2, and as such, they will always see high traffic in the map. Having double the normal maximum armor really helps in deathmatch. Now, prepare yourself, as it's about to get confusing. We're at the point where we will start seeing lots of little intersections between the places we have visited and the ones we have not. A loveless shotgun on the rug, one of 2 on this map. We've seen the first one near the credits switch. A little bit gruesome, but then again, the credits directly named this map a nightmare. That sneaky doorway leads to a small place for players to spawn. Strange room, but I'm not about to question the dream logic. There's the Air 2, one of maps too. Every weapon in this map, sans RPG, comes in pairs, probably for balance purposes. There is also a small secret with again 2 Air 2 orbs. Diving down and climbing the ladders, we'll find ourselves at the bottom of the column room, in all of its nonsensical glory. Exiting this area is easy, you just have to jump down into the light. And we're back to the main maze area again. It's worth pointing out that Magnum's tower switch can also be activated by damage. Not bullets, however, leaving us with melee or explosives. As you can see, explosives aren't terribly reliable, but they do in fact activate that button. It's just my terrible luck with my nade shots. Anyway, there are a few odd ways to get into the maze. like using this just wide enough for player to squeeze through gap. We've been there, now let's check out the other way. Now, if this isn't trippy, I don't know what is. It's just a narrow walkway with an RPG on it, but stepping off will result in an immediate death. After all this trippiness, map is out to trip us up with a genuine bug. You surely recognize the city green light color from the toxic tunnel, right? This is that missing elevator. On the right hand side there is a short connector tunnel we've caught a glimpse of previously. And no, the red gas doesn't hurt. A short trip will lead us back to the fork in the cave. That's a familiar scenery, isn't it? Enough sightseeing, let's take a closer look at the areas we passed by. This spinning box houses that spiral RPG tunnel. By following this tunnel, we'll find another entrance to the column room. But if we continue, we'll find a small area bathed in green light. Not a particularly intriguing area, but I approve simplistic yet inventive brushwork. There's a lot of vertical variation here, and a multitude of interesting sightlines. Continuing on, we'll exit to a straight tunnel to Air 2 room and the glass ramp. It is also possible to take a jump to get some goodies and either enter the column room, as you can see, or you can get back to the maze if you so desire. But we've seen both of those, so there is no point. This tunnel links the glass ramp to the Air 2 area. It's really interesting how intricately interconnected this map is, despite being really compact. Many areas have 3 or more exit paths, but almost none of them will merge back up until much later. This place would be best described as some kind of lab. Its main centerpiece is a teleport decorated with unfortunately missing gooey glass shader. Thanks, Valve. I like these small details like pipes under the glass. The room itself has a bunch of catwalks and practically zero cover. One of points of interest is a crossbow, hidden in the plain sight, right under the ramp. The top section of the catwalk contains the second Air 2 and some supplies. The teleport isn't too fancy, but the intermediate area is rather unique. That's right, the exit point is a vent. I didn't see that coming either. Well, at this point, we've seen pretty much the entire map. It really is a curious one. We'll have to brave navigating this room once again. So, what makes this map special? Well, this map is both little known and really hard to find. As of date of the recording, I haven't been able to find a working download link for this map anywhere online, and I distinctly remember it being available some 5 years back. These days, link rot got to it, and it's practically on the verge of becoming lost media at this point. Thankfully, I keep my old hard drives around, so the map could be found with relative ease. Alright, that was it for Beta 5, now let's see what changed in Beta 7. This is Beta 7 version of the map. The spool area hasn't changed, at least in any meaningful way. The courtyard still looks the same. Note these little moving particles. Now there's a field inside the tunnel that tries to push you off the catwalk. I realized that I haven't shown this area. It's the chute leading to the supercharger pool. The dive for the charger is considerably longer now. You'll likely start running out of air if you go for a full charge, which is always tempting. Even though I use the fastest way to ascend, ladder glitching notwithstanding, I still start drowning. And here is the elevator how it should have been. It's safe to use now, apart from the usual source chain. This is how you were intended to pick up these items, by riding the elevator. Now this is different, a whole new room welded to what we had in the previous map. It's that tiny magnum area, except the walls were taken out and some things were moved haphazardly, resulting in things like that. The small flooded credits room is still recognizable, but barely. The new room dominates the scene now. Adding that resulted in some texturing errors though. The column room floor now spins, as opposed to shaking in concentric patterns. Inside of the column, the ladder was supplanted by an elevator. The control room hasn't changed, it functions exactly the same way as it did. You still have to wait it out, lest you get squished by the column. So, anything special about this room? Not really. It's just a big room to have shootouts in. A reasonable amount of boxes too. Notice how these aren't the same heavy boxes we saw in the crossbow pool room. The corners are slightly raised for some reason. There's a bit of depth textures there, but it's hard to see. Overall, very strange change. Very undercooked. That area feels like a redesign cut in the act, before it could solidify, be carried out completely. That is probably the case, and this version was likely supposed to be an early playtest for it. I failed to see the reason behind adding that room. It was like such a downgrade compared to how 5 had these areas. Ah yeah, remember that damageable button? The one that exposes the control room? Yeah, that's how it works when Source stops janking out. Well, that's pretty much it for the big changes. The rest is small details. It's really strange how a seemingly later version, while improving some aspects, changes others for the worse. But it's highly probable that this version was heavy work in progress and was not meant to see the light of day outside of playtesting. Due to the nature of how maps spread across source games, namely, being downloaded straight from the hosting player or server, it's often very hard to say anything certain about the provenance of the maps, since they could have been hosted even in accident. Out of these two, I definitely prefer the Beta 5 more, and it is a solid map, save for a few bugs. In general though, I have to say, this map definitely nails this weird dreamlike quality. I like it when the maps have this strange vibe to them. Something about it coupled with purely vanilla Half-Life 2 assets just tickles me fancy, you know? Overall, DM Plastic is an interesting and a very obscure map. Now I have some trivia in store for you, if you're interested. We've seen the areas change between the versions, but it's kinda hard to compare from memory, so I made the screenshots to showcase the difference. This map also includes another credits text, this time hidden inside WorldSpawn's message key value. That particular key value seems to be a leftover from Quake code and isn't used in retail Half-Life 2, but mappers sometimes put text in there. As an interesting detail, the trap pits all have different depths, with one of them being very shallow, thanks to small cubbyhole room we've seen previously. You might be interested in how pit traps work, so I'm going to showcase that from both perspectives, with the help of my assistant. I hope that you have enjoyed this little map archaeology tour, and until the next time,